Okay, let's begin, everyone. Chapter 1, A Very Warm Welcome. All eyes are on your carriage as it rattles over worn cobblestones. Outside the carriage window, your people crowd the streets of Dritshaven. I actually haven't decided how to pronounce it. Dritshaven, in greater numbers than you have ever seen, their cheers and chatter drowning out the clatter of your horses' hooves. You are certain that a good many of the commoners are only present because they fear the wrath of the Iron King, your father, should they appear unsupportive on this important day. Few have any real choice in the matter, least of all you. The older faces are worn and gaunt and smudged with dirt. Their eyes are glazed over, disinterested. They bear too many burdens of their own to be concerned with the affairs of royals such as yourself. But the younger peasants are not so dour, if just as bony. They bob in and out of the crowd, waving the red and gold flags of Thestria, fighting to catch a glimpse of their king and his only, I'm gonna go with, daughter. Your father sits across from you, his muscled bulk consuming almost half the carriage. His eyes are cold, hard stone set into a scarred and leathered face half concealed by a coarse beard. Those eyes are the same as yours, in color at least. And our options for this are gray and moody as storm clouds, green and untamed as a dark forest, blue and keen as a clear winter sky, brown and deep as a warm south, or we can describe our own eye color, but I am way too lazy for that, so I'm going to go with brown this time. I usually go with gray because it's the first one, but, let's shake things up. Right now, that brown bores into you as you regard the commoners outside. This is your first public appearance, the first time many of your people will see the face of the woman who will one day rule over them. Your father wants to see how you react to the praise, see what kind of ruler you might be. And our options are, I encourage the people and enjoy doing it. I smile and wave politely, as is appropriate for someone of my station. I close the curtains. It may not be what is expected of me, but I cannot find myself caring. Or I spit on the rabble. I'm going to spit on the rabble. That's a new choice that was added fairly recently on the request of a player. You guys are vicious. I like it. Let's move on. One man in particular makes you feel sick to the stomach. He just stands there, practically every inch of his rags covered in mud, his nails yellowed, his bones gnarled under his sagging skin, staring. He wears a blank expression on his face and doesn't so much as nod as your royal carriage approaches. When you spit his direction, he blinks dully but otherwise does not move. Are these seriously the people you're supposed to lead? Dirty, smelly, and too dim-witted to acknowledge the royal family? No wonder your father has such a hard time reining them in. Right now, he watches you sternly from his side of the carriage, though he says nothing to betray his thoughts. If he is displeased with your actions, perhaps he knows it would be hypocritical to say as much. Your mother died when you were young, leaving your father to raise you on his own, or rather, for him to assign nursemaids and tutors to raise you in his stead. Until recently, he has been so occupied with running a kingdom that he has had little time to spend with his only child. Now that you are about to come of age, he has been diverting more attention your way in an apparent attempt to prepare you for your increasing responsibilities as crown princess. Our options for this are, I am glad we are finally interacting more. I may not always agree with father, but I value our relationship. I am glad he is finally taking me seriously. I admire his firm leadership and want to learn everything I can from him. I care not for his feeble efforts. He is no father of mine and never will be. He is no father of mine, but I will play along for now. It's best he doesn't know just how much I despise him. I meant to get a dice or something to choose what option. I think I'll go with this one. I care not for his feeble efforts. It fits with our spitting on the rabble. He made that clear when he almost completely ignored you your entire life, only showing up every so often to lecture you on how fit you are to wear his crown. No, there will be no rectifying this relationship. You are merely an asset to him, and always will be, but two can play that game. What is it? He grunts, noticing your grimace. It's nothing, you say curtly. King Osdric bristles at your tone and seems to grow a few inches in size. I am your father, your king. You will answer when questioned. You resist the urge to roll your eyes and instead do your best to look straight into his without flinching. Fine, I was just thinking that I hope we make it through this day in one piece. Not strictly speaking untrue, that thought has been in the back of your mind all morning. Somewhat appeased, the king shrinks back to his regular bulk, keeping his eyes fixed on you. You will be fine, he says, but you're not certain he believes it. As the carriage continues on its way, you cannot help but consider the irony of the situation. Despite your finer clothes, you may have even less freedom than the starving beggars outside your window. You are certain the Iron King never once mandated who a peasant ought to marry. I feel like that should be whom. Whom sounds so pretentious. I think I'm going to change it anyway. Okay. Who a peasant mandated. Okay, I made it a little more pretentious, but I think it's more grammatically accurate this way. So, there we go. Moving on. You are certain the Iron King never once mandated whom a peasant ought to marry. But for as long as you can remember, you have been all but promised to Prince Connor of Grimwald, a man you have never met. That will all change today. At this very moment, Prince Connor's ship should be nearing the port, and you must be there to greet him when it docks. But that does not mean you have to be happy about it, or even particularly pleasant. It is, of course, entirely possible that this marriage is the right choice. On a political level, it is certainly a smart one. Grimwald, oh my gosh, sorry, my nose is... One sec. Sorry, I had to clear my nose. I'm just getting over a cold, which is incidentally why I wasn't able to do this last weekend, even though I had a lot more time. Anyway, moving on. On a political level, it is certainly a smart one. Grimwald is Thestria's oldest and most valuable ally, but your relationship has been strained in recent years, undoubtedly because of the Iron King's aggressive expansion. Thestria's newfound military might have... Oh, that is a grammar error. My goodness, might have... let's fix that. Oh my gosh, there we go. Thestria's newfound military might has many of the surrounding kingdom... Oh my gosh. Yeah, might have many of the surrounding kingdoms nervous, including Grimwald. Oh, you know what? It's the might that should be gone. Let's make that back into has. And Thestria's newfound military has many of the surrounding kingdoms nervous, including Grimwald. There we go. A strategic marriage may be the only way to retain your allies' trust and ensure friendly relations for years to come, and it would also give you greater opportunity to secure preferential trade agreements. Grimwald is an economic powerhouse and could benefit Thestria far more than they already do, should the right strings be pulled. On a personal level, you have heard positive things about the prince. How many of these things are true and how many are exaggerations or outright lies, you cannot say, but they suggest he is an honorable man and well liked by his people. Not bad on the eyes either, if that's important to you. Whatever the case, everyone expects you to marry him, and backing out of the arrangement will have serious repercussions for both you and the kingdom. But this life is defined by choices, and these choices often have unexpected outcomes. Who is to say what the right one is? Everything could change when you meet him, but what are your current intentions regarding the prince? Our options are, of course I will marry him, as is my duty to my kingdom. I intend to marry him, but for my own reasons, not my father's. I plan on marrying him, but only because I do not see a way out. I've not decided yet. How can I without first meeting him? I have no intention of marrying him. My life is mine to do what I will. I intend to do what is right by the kingdom, but that may or may not involve marrying Prince Connor. I'm going to go with let's marry him for my own reasons. I feel like that goes with the princess I've been creating. While this marriage was not originally your decision, the more you think about it, the better the idea seems. The prince is wealthy, powerful, and well-connected, all qualities you can make use of. A marriage to him would also grant you a degree of freedom from your father. The Iron King may have arranged the marriage for his own gain, but that does not mean you can't work things in your favor instead. You are, however, acutely aware that it may not matter at all what your intentions are, and not just because your father is a difficult man to defy. Outside your carriage, rows of armed guards flank you on horseback, while others line the crowd, making sure the peasants keep their distance. Still more guards weave through the people, checking for weapons or other hazards. And that's just what you can see. You are certain there are spies placed in key locations, ever vigilant for the slightest sign of dissent. They expect trouble. To say people are displeased with their king would be a gross understatement. Rebels have been growing in number and boldness, while there have been whispers of foreign alliances forming against you. King Osric is not a popular man, which makes him, and his only daughter, a target. And what better time to attack than when you are both out in the open for a day that could mean the salvation of your kingdom? Whatever your intentions with the prince, they will have to wait until you survive the day. Where is your sword? Your father's rumbling voice shakes you from your thoughts. He stares pointedly at your waist, where a scabbard would be had you brought one. You grit your teeth. You did not bring a sword because a tutor and advisor your father assigned you insisted you leave it behind. A ruler's strength is in her people, not her sword, Master Anaxis told you this morning. He then went on to grumble about the fact that you even had a sword. Princesses with swords, he muttered. Why not put horns on a swan while we're at it, or fangs on a butterfly? This is just one of many disagreements he has with your father, who has long insisted you be trained in all the same skills as a prince. No heir of mine will be a weakling milksop, your father would say. If you were to wear the Iron Crown, you would do so as a warrior, whether you wanted to or not. Yeah, this was my way of making it make sense that whether or not you play a prince or a princess, you have roughly the same capabilities, despite the fact that you are raised in a society where that would not be the case normally. But I feel like it makes sense, though, for a hardened king like Osric to want to train his only heir in warfare. I don't actually mention this in anything yet, but he's actually the son of a mercenary captain. He was not born to royalty, so he's got definitely a fierce warrior's vibe going on, and a little rough around the edges, to put it mildly. Anyway, moving on. Next. Oh, yes, now we explain that there's hints. Okay, let's read this. Some choices in this game award, reduce, or test various stats. Part of the fun is in discovering for yourself how your choices affect gameplay, but this can also be frustrating for some players. In story mode, the game will provide details on which skills are involved in a particular choice, or whether it is a romantic one. Would you like to turn on story mode? This can be toggled at any time in the stats menu and will not affect achievements. Yes, I would like hints. I want to see what they look like. Story mode is now turned on. Please note that as this game is still in early stages of development, many choices do not yet contain the appropriate hints, but we'll get there. I think most of them do now, but yeah, not the later choices in Chapter 2. Back to the story. That was not the first time you had been caught between your father's and Anaxis's viewpoints. In the end, Anaxis won out, but did you let him? Okay, our options are: I do not wish to rule by the sword, so I gladly left it behind. A sword is a tool, and on this day it is not the right one for the job. I willingly left it behind. Father is right. I need to present a strong image, and I regret that I was not firmer with Anaxis. Or I feel exposed without my sword and did not give it up willingly. I think I'm going to go for the presence one. And not that I have anyone interested right now, but I am going to show everyone the stats screen at this point. In case we have any newcomers that ever watch this down the road. So here's the current bare bones stats screen. We got, you are the only child of the Iron King. We don't actually have a name yet. There are 100,000 gold pieces in the kingdom's treasury. Use them wisely. The number will undoubtedly change. And our main skills, which I have yet to actually describe, we got intrigue, athletics, diplomacy, reasoning, presence. I feel like most of these are a little obvious what they do, but I will one day go into a bit more detail. So the difference between intrigue and diplomacy, I think those are probably the most confusing ones, and I guess presence. Intrigue is basically your like courtly knowledge, like how well you can read people one-to-one and manipulate things happening in your court. So it's kind of your knowledge of castle goings on mostly, whereas diplomacy is more about, smoothing things over and especially knowledge of other kingdoms and whatnot. So it's going to be more of an important one for engaging with your betrothed and securing alliances and generally being seen as a nice person, I suppose. And presence is similar to a charisma stat, but it's more about how well you command the room. I'm picturing like a Clint Eastwood. Everyone turns his way whenever he walks in a room. He's just got star power. I've heard some of you are interested in aura farming. I definitely want later in the game there to be some really fun moments where you're just, if you have really high presence stat, you're just like, everyone listens to you. You command everyone's attention. You are Clint Eastwood. Yeah, he's always a person that comes to mind when I think of people that have just very commanding presence that you can't miss. Just from what other people say of him. Anyway, so yeah, we have our relationship stats. We'll meet a lot of these people presently. Oh, we already dinged our stat with the Iron King. Bummer. But we're marrying Prince Connor, so it looks like that got raised up. Factions, I'm still kind of working on this one. That's gonna be like your main stats that will determine your end states. Like, okay, is there a civil war? Are the rebels winning? Does Osric win? Like, who's gonna be in charge is gonna be important. And our personality, I guess we're pretty bold because we've been spitting on people, and we're independent because we're marrying the prince, but it's for our own reasons. And this is basically our health bar, our will to continue, how determined you are to press on. Do you have what it takes to pursue your goals, or will you collapse under pressure? So if that gets to 0, things are going to start happening. You're not going to be able to do what you want. Maybe you'll have like a little bit of a breakdown. You might have to be forced to rest instead of doing other stuff. Maybe later in the game you might even die. I don't know. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. Just to note, all of these are very in development. Just from hearing other game developers, stats seem to be one of the last things that people really refine. So, don't put too much stock in any of this. Just a lot of the stats there are more for my own sake to get a sense of possibilities later on, but I could easily add or subtract anything from here, rename or whatever. In fact, I think I did rename something. Yeah. I used to, originally I had this opposed stat was dutiful versus self-serving, and that just felt, I don't know, self-serving felt too negative, and a good opposed stat has two sides that might feasibly be desirable. And I guess it is, some people might think it's desirable to be self-serving, but I feel like independent has less of a moral veneer. So yeah, I've also been toying with putting on like a progressive versus traditional stat, which I think could be interesting and have a few key factors. But I noticed that a lot of the choices that would have included that would have overlapped too much with the dutiful independent thing. It's like, oh, are you going to go through with your arranged marriage? Well, that would be a pretty traditional thing to do, but it's also a dutiful thing to do, and there's a few other moments like that. So that's something I'm still considering. It's technically in the code, there's a traditional versus progressive stat, but I'm not sure yet. I'm actually going to incorporate that. And here we can toggle story mode, but I would prefer to keep it as is. Oh, and we have our achievements tab while we're just doing a little tour. And yeah, there's not a whole lot that you can do now. I'm working on it. Oh, there's one hidden achievement, and yeah, these cheat modes, I mentioned them in the Patreon newsletter, but yeah, basically if you do certain stuff, you get to unlock stat boosts, either to your relationships in romance mode or to your actual skills in hero mode. Yeah, that's not available in the public demo yet, but if you're a patron, then I give some hints on how to unlock those, and the hint gets more obvious the more you pay me, basically. Yeah, anyway, let's move on. We've done enough of a tour on the stat screen. Okay. So we are. So we're talking to Osdrek. He's mad that we didn't bring a sword, and now we're explaining to him why. Naxus insisted I leave it behind. In my haste to make it to the ceremony, I decided not to enter into another argument with him. You pause a moment, realizing how weak your excuse sounds. I regret that now. I should have been firmer. It will not happen again, Father. He nods without taking his eyes off of you, and you get the distinct impression that you narrowly avoided disaster. See that it doesn't. The clop-clop of horses' hooves ceases as your carriage rolls to a stop. Trumpets blast at your arrival. Moments later, the door to the carriage opens and a herald begins his announcement. Make way for the king, make way for his most valiant and illustrious majesty, Osdrek, sovereign king of Thestria, lord and master of Vanya, friend and ally of Grimwald, conqueror of the eastern waste, and bulwark of the west. The carriage groans and tilts as the king moves to the exit, and it seems to breathe a sigh of relief when he steps onto the portable steps. Polite claps from the gathered nobles greet him, as well as sparse cheering from the few commoners who really, really don't want to seem unsupportive. Now your turn. And Her Royal Highness. I like Elthrith. No, you know what? I can barely pronounce that. That's a bad call. Let's do Penelope. I'm probably going to redo some of these names to make them all suit the vibe better. I've been belatedly trying to do more of a Old English naming system. It turns out it's a lot harder to change names in code, especially when you already have a following and people are used to you referring to characters a certain way. So I won't be changing many of the names, but I'd like to make these actually make sense. Anyway, whatever. All that to say, we're going with Penelope. Her Highness, Royal Highness Penelope, Princess of Thestria, heir to the throne, blood of Theodoric the Magnificent, destined to bear the crown of her father's glory. A guardsman with dark wavy hair, a trim beard, and chestnut eyes stands next to the carriage door. Garrett, one of your most trusted guards. He has served your house faithfully since you were both children and has grown into a strong and capable young man. He frees a hand from its gauntlet and offers it to you. Okay, I think this is going to be the last choice we do. I'm getting a little tired. I had to work through a few technical difficulties before starting this, so forgive me, it's a short session. Anyway, okay, so he's offering his gauntlet to you. Our options are, I accept his hand and smile warmly. During his years of service, we have become friends. I accept his hand and smile warmly. Garrett and I have been friends for some time, and there may be something more between us. I accept his hand politely, maintaining a professional distance. I accept his hand, but otherwise do my best to ignore him. He is a lowly guard and not worth my notice. Yeah, let's maintain a professional distance. I think this one would work better with our personality, but so far there are no benefits to being mean to your servants, other than giving you the ruthless stat, which might help you make other decisions later. I might try and work on that because I don't like it when choices are all just about, like, there's an obvious right and wrong answer. So, I don't know. I'm going to think about, is there a benefit to abusing your servants? That sounds mean, but maybe there is. I don't know. Anyway, we're going to accept his hand politely and maintain a professional distance. Okay, I'm going to read this. He helps you out of the carriage with the sturdy hands of a soldier before stepping aside. His face is grim. He is ready should any trouble arise. For that you are thankful. And I just realized that I have no way of saving my progress because I've been working directly on my own version. But you know what? I'm just going to zip through it next time, I guess, and try and remember the choices I made. Okay, well, thank you, anyone who watches this after the fact. That was an interesting experiment. I kind of enjoyed it. I don't know if it was a good use of time or not, talking to a void, but if you haven't noticed, I do like nattering about my stuff quite a bit. I guess I'm a little self-centered that way. That's okay. Whatever. Anyway, I may or may not do this again. If I do, it will likely be on a weekend around this time because this is when my mother-in-law most often has the kids, and I don't want to do this when I might have to run off to save a screaming child or change a diaper or something. Anyway, so thanks for joining. And, if you do watch this after the fact, feel free to leave me some feedback if you think this is worth doing again, or if you'd prefer something a little different or what have you, keeping in mind that my goal here is to do something that is as low effort as I can get away with while still, making myself available for questions or whatever. Anyway, have a good rest of the day, and I'll try and figure out how to stop the streaming now. Bye.